It's humidity tomorrow, the high 70. Sunshine, a very nice day on Wednesday. High Wednesday afternoon, 73. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
64 at O'Hare. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I noticed on the city-run media here, the local network affiliates, including WGN, a big story I see in heavy rotation this morning is Dalton Supermayor Tiffany Henyard facing eviction for non-payment of her mortgage, I guess.
Yeah, she and her boyfriend live together. No, it's rent. They haven't paid their rent in a while, and they're going to be kicked out October 22nd if they don't, or they have to go to court and mark them.
Whatever. Fonnie Willis, Nathan Wade Redux. I get it. That's a big story. What's happening in Dalton, really? In a related story that is not a big story, BLM Brandon wants the Chicago Public School District to take out a $300 million loan to cover the costs of the higher teacher salaries and pensions, associated pensions, per the contract demands that Stacey Davis Gates and the Chicago Teachers Union is making.
Demanding.
$300 million loan. So we're very concerned about Tiffany Henyard's credit rating or credit worthiness, the mayor of Dalton. We're not very concerned about the Chicago Public School District, which, by the way, is largely financed by all taxpayers in Illinois. That's where a majority of the funding comes from, the state. The fact that it's junk rated in terms of its credit worthiness. And so the $300 million loan that BLM Brandon wants CPS to take out would end up costing taxpayers about $700 million. You could get a better deal at payday loan stores. But they don't care because you don't care. We don't care. Good John Cass column over the weekend, America's Deadly Sin of Doing Nothing, over at johncassnews.com. He was mainly talking about on the national and international stage, but it applies to the local stage. Cass writes, how do the government high priests of this dangerous sect, the left, that would lead to murder and anarchy move to accomplish their goals? How do they kill, maim, and hurt? How do they destroy nations and allow serious corruption to flourish and metastasize? How do they seed madness and anarchy, the same kind of anarchy that you watch in the big democratic cities when corporate titans shovel millions upon millions of dollars at Black Lives Matter? All they must do is one thing, nothing. Nothing. The deadly sin of omission. And that's what we have here in Chicagoland. I mean, we have definitely some sins of commission, but the sins of commission are allowed to persist, metastasize, be scaled because of the sins of omission created by people who know better, but don't want to be bothered to do better or are afraid to do better. $300 million loan to cover that would cost $700 million to cover 9% salary increases for teachers that are already on a per capita basis the highest paid government school teachers of any big city in the country. And what do we have in the city? We have more than 3 in 5 school buildings underutilized, more than a third of CPS schools that are half empty. Mm-hmm. But you got to keep the Potemkin Village up. You got to keep up appearances because it's a system designed for the adults. But where's the hue and cry? Other than from honkies like me? Well, somebody who is certainly not guilty of a sin of omission maybe can help us answer the question, where or when will the hue and cry be expanded beyond the ranks of this show and Wire Points and Pastor Corey Brooks, senior pastor of New Beginnings Church in Chicago, South Side, founder and CEO of Project H.O.O.D as well. Corey, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
So, part of what you're doing with the huge community center you're building is going to be in the direction of formative education for kids in your the neighborhoods you serve, but I mean, just this larger play, against the backdrop of this sort of phony fight between CPS and CTU that involves Brandon. I mean, it's just more of the same dance that we've seen for 30 years. But where is the hue and cry, particularly from like alder humans or these self-styled community leaders that are presiding over communities that are not only violent and decrepit, but they're increasingly depopulated?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that we have to continue to go down this cycle every single year or every several years with the teachers union and the schools. And, at the end of the day, our schools are suffering. Our students are suffering. In our neighborhood, we have a 4% reading proficiency, a 6% math proficiency. So while they put up these fake fights, it's our students that suffer the most. And it's very unfortunate that we are not making more of an outcry in our neighborhood, and leaders like myself, we have to start standing up and letting people know what's going on, because I'm real. Other than your show and a few other shows, there are very few people who are talking about the issues that we're experiencing, and something needs to be done about it. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be, if there's going to be protests, these are surely the type of issues that we need to be protesting in our community. But because so many of our leaders in our neighborhood have bought into this post-60 liberalism and this progressive politics, we see the issues that we're faced with.
I mean, we talked to LaShawn Ford pretty regularly, who I like, a personal level, he's state rep from the West Side. And, he's a smart guy. But so we try to walk, you walk through the logic of this and the evidence that is all around him and all of us. And you just can't get him quite over the threshold on the sort of system change that you're engaged in a private way on the South Side. And I don't know. And I don't know that anybody has the answer to it, or probably would have been implemented. But I mean, do you see other green shoots besides yourself where you see people that are getting it and saying, okay, we've got to do something completely different. We can't sort of ignore all of these gaping chest wounds, literally and figuratively, in our neighborhoods anymore?
I think the numbers are growing every single day. I think the fact that more and more people are waking up to these type of policies and the type of politics that we've been following in our community for years shows that it's not working. More people are starting to say, hey, because this is not working, we want to do something different. We need an alternative. And I think it's important for people like myself to continue to give people an alternative and to continue to show some conservative principles that work. And I think the more we do that, people are going to see that the things that we're trying to make happen in our neighborhood are far more better and superior than the progressive policies that we're experiencing. So I think it's moving. I think the numbers are increasing. I think more and more people are buying into it, but we got to keep our foot to the pedal, and we got to keep saying these issues over and over, and we can't back down in the face of the power structure that be and the system that is in place.
Well, there's about 100 schools that need to be closed because of underperforming students, but really low to no attendance. Why is it racist to close schools?
Well, I don't think it's racist to close schools. I think what's racist is not having school choice, not giving parents an opportunity to put their children in places where they can perform and get the quality education that they need. I think what's racist is for individuals to say that it's all right for my children to be able to go to private schools and for me to send them anywhere else, but you poor kids, whether you're black or white or Hispanic, because you're poor and impoverished, you stay exactly where you are. I think that's what we have to fight for, and I think school choice is something that could even the playing field, and it's something that we desperately need in our neighborhood. If we don't get it, we're going to continue to see our children fall further and further behind, and eventually there's going to be such a gap that cannot be closed.
I mean, is it just the case that they just have the numbers and they've got CTU has round numbers 30,000 teachers, and then you layer in the other public sector unions, and they just have overwhelming numbers, and you just can't beat the numbers because there are just too many people that whose livelihoods depend on the way things are, and you just can't overcome that. I mean, you can do it. You can do it on the margins. You can do it one kid at a time, like you're doing it, or a few dozen kids at a time, or a few hundred kids at a time, like you're doing it. But in terms of citywide, they just they've got their hooks into the larger metropolitan population for good.
Yeah, I think some of that is true. I think that they're so large and so big that it's hard to take them on. But all giants do fall. There are some Goliaths that can go down, but we have to support the Davids of the world. We have to support those individuals who are trying to fight the system, and that's the reason why I ask for people to support Project Hood, and I'm not shy about it because I believe that we have something that works and that we have something that can challenge the system and challenge those individuals. But we have to resource them. We have to get behind them. We have to provide time, talent, and treasure to organizations like the one we have so that we can fight the good fight and so that we can spread what we believe to be a better way, not just on the south side of Chicago, but we need to put it on the west side of Chicago and all of these areas that are having tough times. So I think part of what you said is true. It is a big organization, but I never will believe that they can't go down.
What's happening where you live and work? I mean, we get these competing characterizations of the incidents of violent crime because of competing statistical aggregators, although we find out the FBI is like missing 118 murders from last year in Chicago, so probably not as reliable as they would like to, as the politicians in Illinois would like to have people believe because they're undercounting. I mean, you recently had a death very close to you. Your godson was killed on the streets of Chicago. I just wonder, even just anecdotally, because that's how people live, anecdotally, like what you feel is happening with the mission field you're focused upon.
I think the mission field that I'm focused on it's a tough field. Here locally, exactly where we are, things are getting better because we work to make them better. But outside our concentric circle, there are people who are still experiencing a tough time. The violence is still rising and violence is still going up. And now you add the fact that we have a lot of illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants who have been let into the country and let into Chicago. Statistics have been saying on the news that there's an alarming rate of murderers and rapists that have had been let in with there are a lot of good people, but there are also a lot of bad people that have come into the country. And some of them have ended up smack dab in Chicago on the south and west sides of Chicago. And because of that, crime is increasing. You're seeing more sex trafficking. You're seeing gangs started to fight one another. Not only that, you're seeing gangs starting to collaborate. And I think that's one of the things that is being overlooked, the collaboration of Venezuelan gangs and black gangs. It's coming together is going to create even more of a major difficulty for people who live in communities like ours.
Yeah, that's been an issue that's been reported on by both the New York Post, talking to New York police officers, as well as actually some gang leaders or gang members who've spoken to the press in Chicago about. I haven't heard so much about the collaboration because most of the discussion was there potentially coming gang wars with Tren de Aragua, this big Venezuelan gang, and some of the local gangs in places like Chicago, New York. But you're saying there's more collaboration than there is confrontation. That could be even more frightening.
Yeah, Tren de Aragua, they're trying to press their way on Venezuelans themselves. But there's a group of Venezuelans who are fighting back against them. They don't want to be taxed. They don't want to submit to that gang leadership anymore. So they've started some of their own gangs, and some of those gangs, I know for a fact, are collaborating with black gangs. There's a gang down the street called the Black Disciples, but the Venezuelan gang down the street has started calling themselves BBD, Venezuelan Black Disciples, and so they're collaborating, and they're into it with Tren Aragua. They're into it with them, and so that's the type of thing that I don't think people are paying attention to. That's only going to grow, but you don't know those things if you're not hands-on, if you're not really in deep in the community, entrenched in the community to find these things out. I know them because I'm entrenched in the community. I try to keep my hand on the pulse of what's going on, and these are the issues that we are facing every single day, and people need to know about it, but it's happening.
Well, and if that does happen, and what you're describing continues in that with that trajectory, then you're going to see the body count on the streets increase, aren't you?
you're definitely going to see them increase. And anybody who does not believe that VBD exists, Venezuelan Black Disciples, all they have to do is go to 61st and King and ask some questions, and they'll see for themselves some Venezuelans and Black disciples who have started to connect with one another. And we've had, in the last month, 3 shootings, murders in that area. Now, are they tied to that? I don't know, but it's highly likely because they didn't happen months before that, and so people need to realize that the increase of murder is going to happen. I mean, how can it not increase whenever you let all these murderers into America, and they're undocumented, they don't know where they are, and they're in our communities? That's going to be a problem, and we need to pay more attention to it. That's the reason why this upcoming election is so important, because we need to get a hold of our borders. We need to make sure that we're not just letting people undocumented illegally come into the country. They need to follow the process, and they need to do what they need to do to become an American citizen. It's not that we're against immigration. It's that we're against illegal immigration. And so we're against open borders. At least I am. And so I want to welcome people to America, and I want to welcome people to our community. I want to be here to open our doors to everyone, but I want them to do it legally.
Yeah. But do you think people in your community or your friends, do they agree with you?
Absolutely. I mean, you can go anywhere in our neighborhood, and most people are going to feel the same way we feel. They're going to they're going to tell you that, listen, we're already burdened. We're already overtaxed. Our educational system is failing. Crime is happening. The last thing we can afford is to have illegal immigrants in the city, in our community. The last thing we can afford is to take more burden on an already burdened system. And that is exactly what we're seeing. Even with Project H.O.O.D, right? We're trying to do something to transform our neighborhood, but we have to take monies every single day that could be used for the building that we're building across the street that costs $43 million. We have to take some of those funds and help people who have come here illegally, because they come and knock on our door, they need help. And so because we're Christians and because we're part of the church, we can't take the and just say, no, we can't help you, turn them away. We have to help people, and some of those same funds are the funds that we have to use to build our community center. But we can't do it because we have so many families coming every single day, and it seems like the more we help, the more they show up.
Yeah, and then many of those same people lamenting what has transpired will be heading out in the next couple of weeks to vote for Kamala Harris, too. And so it goes. Corey Brooks, Senior Pastor of New Beginnings Church of Chicago, founder and CEO of Project H.O.O.D. You can support Project H.O.O.D at projecthood.org, projecthood.org. Corey Brooks, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you all, and keep spreading the good news. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, we'll do. Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Go with your gut. Your dog's immune system is based in the gut. A diet lacking in nutrients can cause itching, scratching, and a weak immune system. However, there is a solution. DINOVITE. Dinovite.
It took a grand total of 2 weeks. The dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Try Dinovite for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Learn more at dinovite.com/radio.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dinovite.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Okay, just got it. Hear the sound? New bottles of Balance of Nature. Love it because I don't get enough fruits and veggies on my own like most of you, and that's why we all take Balance of Nature. With 6